Alright, so today we're going to be looking at Protists, so we're just going to go ahead and get started, because there's really not a whole lot of information to go over that you need to know. I just want to go over some of the differences and similarities when we look at other organisms. Alright, so organisms in the Protist kingdom almost always have one cell. You did see several in the observation today when we were looking at all the different Protists, that some are obviously multi-celled. However, most of them are single-celled. Since they are eukaryotes, they do all have a nucleus of some kind. On the amoeba, sometimes you could see the nucleus and sometimes you couldn't. And some of the protists are going to live in colonies, specifically the Spirogyra live in colonies, so it looks like one whole organism, but really they're just a bunch of separate single-celled organisms that are attached together. So there's different kinds of protists. They're either classified as animal-like protists or plant-like protists. If they're animal-like protists, they're going to be called protozoans. And some examples include the amoeba, the euglena, and the paramucium. Amoeba is actually spelled wrong, so if you want to change that, that'd be awesome. So as you go through the next few slides, I want you to just kind of sketch out what each animal looks like and label the parts that I'm going to highlight for you. Alright, so this is what the amoeba looks like. This should be similar to what you saw. I want you to kind of just draw a little blob, and I want you to make sure you label the nucleus, the cell membrane, and the pseudopod. So remember, the pseudopod means false foot, and this is how they move. The amoeba also eats by engulfing its cell membrane around something, and then it forms a food vacuole for digestion later. This type of transport of moving food or large particles into a cell is endocytosis. So if you remember that from the first unit with cells, that is how amoebas eat. Alright, and this is what one looks like. So you may not have seen one similar to this in your in the lab today. Next we have the euglena. You saw hundreds of these just swimming around all together. These are special because they're actually a bridge between plant and animals, because they can do both. They do have chloroplasts, which means they can make their own food, but they can also obtain food from their environment. So they're actually autotrophs and heterotrophs. So go ahead, sketch this out, label the chloroplast, the nucleus, as well as the flagellum. If you need to pause, obviously pause, go back, whatever, just make sure you get these drawings and labels in. Here's what one looks like up close. So this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be, pretty standard. They do move pretty quickly, and you guys saw that in the slides. So this is what the paramucium looks like. You guys couldn't really see the cilia because of how light it is, but that's really how it moves around. This contractile vacuole also helps push water through and helps it move. So you want to just go ahead and label the nucleus as well as the cilia. And this is what you saw, and you can see the really faint hairs of the cilia, but this is them up close. Alright, so we looked at the amoeba, euglena, and paramucium, considered to be protozoans. Plant-like protists are going to be called algae. If the algae happens to move, or if the plant-like protist happens to move similar to the euglena, they're going to be called something called phytoflagellates. And so protists, as I said before, they have characteristics both plant and animals, and some also have characteristics that are more like fungi. They share these characteristics with other kingdoms, but they are their own unique kingdom. And if you look at how evolution progressed from archaea to bacteria, in one of the activities we looked at, we saw that the protists actually evolved from bacteria. And if you look at the characteristics of protists, some are animal-like, some are plant-like, and some are like fungi. Those are the other three kingdoms in the eukaryote domain, and protists were the first kingdom to evolve into eukaryotic cells. And then from there, all other life that we know of, more advanced life, branched off from protists. So they had some pretty significant role to play in evolution. So another thing that you want to note is that they only live in ponds. Okay. They cannot live anywhere there's running water, so ponds are still water. These are very small organisms, so if they were to live in a stream or anything like that, they would just get blown away. They wouldn't be able to get the food and nutrients that they need, and they would end up dying. So they adapted to only live in ponds or anywhere that has still water. In fact, if you were to live by a pond and you take some pond water, then you'll look at it under the microscope, you'll see tons of other things. So I gave you a list of protists to look at and differentiate how they move. Some use with cilia, some move using flagella, and the amoeba uses the pseudopods. Algae are going to be mostly non-moving. Many of them are going to live in colonies, but those are also protists, not plants. Alright, so then you have to finish this side of the second paper for homework. You're just going to use this picture to answer the questions. It's pretty self-explanatory, and we will be looking at different protists that cause different pretty nasty diseases on Monday as well, in conjunction with finishing your taxonomy project. Alright guys, you have a good weekend, and I'll see you on maybe Monday or Tuesday, depending on how much snow we get. Alright, talk to you later. Bye.